Well, good afternoon, everyone, and looks like we're good to go. Everybody's seated. And welcome, Minister. Welcome for taking this opportunity to come to us so soon after our request. And welcome to your new portfolio. You got a lot on your plate, and just to come here, right, just being sworn in. Thank you very much. As you may know, our committee is one of the most active, vibrant committees on the Hill. We were very busy over last year. We're dealing with three agreements: European, Ukrainian, and TPP. We did a nationwide consultation on that. We also are dealing with softwood lumber and the steel industry. So we got our hands full, but we have a very well-working committee, and we get the job done. And I can speak on behalf of the members here. Many times that when we're consulting, whether it's stakeholders or the community at large, something that usually comes up every day is how can small and medium-sized businesses take advantage of some of these new trade agreements. So I think it's very good that you're here, and I think our session with you today is having information going back and forth, so our committee can also enlighten you and tell you what we've been hearing out there, and to help you go forward and help these small, medium-sized businesses take advantage of these trade agreements that we're embarking on. So without further ado, Minister, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to address this committee. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président, et distingués membres.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and distinguished members of the committee, for inviting me to speak today.
It is both an honor and a privilege to be here with yourselves. I know the request had just come not too long ago, but for myself, it was really important to be here, and it really demonstrates the importance, and it's nice to see that the committee recognizes that as well. And it is a pleasure to address the committee on measures we are taking to educate and support Canadian SMEs seeking to scale up through innovation and trade. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge my colleagues who have accompanied me here this afternoon. Kelly Gillis is the Associate Deputy Minister at Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada. David Lisk, Vice President, Industrial Research Assistant Program of the National Research Council at the very end, and Michel Bergeron, Senior Vice President for Marketing and Public Affairs to my left. So, as we all know, SMEs represent 99% of all businesses in Canada and employ almost 90% of the private sector workforce. We are a nation of entrepreneurs who want to succeed, and small businesses are the backbone of the Canadian economy. Elles créent des emplois, elles appuient les collectivités.
They create jobs, they support communities, and they support our large companies. As Minister of Small Business and Tourism, my overarching goal is to support the growth of these small businesses through innovation and trade.
In June, I joined my colleagues, Minister Baines and Minister Duncan, in launching the government's innovation agenda. Our goal is for Canada to be a world leader in turning ideas into solutions, in growing startup companies into global successes, and in attracting and retaining the best talent. We listened to Canadians closely, and now we are acting on a plan to make this vision a reality. Canadian entrepreneurs told us, for instance, that government support for innovative, high-growth firms must be simplified. In that regard, I was thrilled to launch the Accelerated Growth Service last June. Under this initiative, we are piloting a different approach to delivering federal support to growth-oriented companies with export ambitions. The AGS brings together federal partners like Export Development Canada, the Trade Commissioner Service, the National Research Council, the Business Development Bank of Canada, and the regional development agencies. The goal is to help high-growth SMEs to become more productive, innovative, and export-oriented. This is why EDC, with its relationship with foreign buyers, and the trade commissioners, with their on-the-ground expertise around the world, are critical partner organizations. The AGS offers high-growth firms one point of contact and tailored services like strategy development, finance, and export support. This is all offered in a client-centric, coordinated manner. This is about delivering the right services at the right speed and scale. Let's take a look at LED Roadway Lighting Limited, based in Halifax. They are a world leader in the design and manufacture of street lighting of LED control systems, and their products help municipalities and utilities around the world save on energy costs compared to conventional lighting technologies. Through the AGS, they were introduced to services available to them in a more cohesive and coordinated way, saving them valuable time and allowing them to focus on business development. Today, the company continues to grow with operations in the United States, Mexico, Brazil, and China. By March, we expect to have supported 150 firms, with another 300 to come on board by 2017 or in 2017. Entrepreneurs also told us during the Innovation Agenda consultations that they could benefit greatly from having the Government of Canada as a client before they export their products abroad. We're now working to expand the scope for Canadian firms to bid on government procurement contracts from coast to coast to coast. The benefits here are twofold. It would increase business opportunities, especially for smaller businesses, and lower government costs. Our aim would be to ensure that firms across the country get broader access to billions of dollars in new procurement opportunities, whether it's a Calgary contractor or a Thunder Bay supplier or a Saskatoon entrepreneur with a solution. One thing is clear, having the federal government as a customer would give Canadian companies a leg up as they seek clients across the globe. Allow me now to turn to trade. As you know, these committee members know very well that only 12% of small and medium-sized enterprises export. Many Canadian SMEs writ large hope to expand beyond the United States, with whom nearly 9 out of 10 of our exporting SMEs do business. Indeed, only 31% of SMEs export to Europe, and even fewer export to China and other Asian countries. So only 12% of SMEs export. 9 out of 10, so about 89% of them actually export to the United States. We're talking about 13% export to China, 16% to other Asian countries. And we want to broaden their horizons. We want them to consider more export markets, as there is a real opportunity for growth here. Small firms, however, cite a number of challenges in expanding to global markets. When it comes to addressing these issues, SMEs with fewer resources than larger corporations can really have a tough time. And we understand that. So to support Canadian exporters, I was thrilled to launch a program called CanExport with the Minister of International Trade. CanExport aide les petites entreprises canadiennes à explorer.
CanExport helps small companies take advantage of opportunities abroad and increase their competitiveness while creating jobs and growth at home.
In-depth briefing on the program last Thursday, so I won't belabor the point. CanExport is a key element of the government's overall trade and investment strategy. I have been working closely with Minister Freeland and now with Minister Champagne on a new international trade and investment strategy. The strategy will include a progressive trade policy agenda that recognizes and addresses SMEs' concerns over trade agreements and negotiations. It will also include enhanced support to SMEs looking to grow through exporting. The new strategy will also feature trade agreement implementation plans in order to help SMEs take advantage of the opportunities that flow from trade agreements. The strategy will also aim to deepen trade and investment relations with emerging markets, particularly China. More details will be announced later this year. One detail I can share now, however, is that we will add a focus in the strategy on SMEs owned by underrepresented groups like women and Indigenous Canadians. On the topic of women entrepreneurs, last June I signed a memorandum of understanding with the United States and Mexico to promote women's entrepreneurship and the growth of women-owned enterprises in North America. And, as you know, earlier this week, Prime Minister Trudeau announced the creation of the Canada-United States Council for the Advancement of Women Entrepreneurs and Business Leaders. These initiatives not only help promote and support the growth of women-owned enterprises, but promote these companies to think and go global. Our Canadian companies trade not only in goods, but in services as well. As the Minister responsible for tourism, I would be remiss if I were not to mention that tourism is Canada's largest service export, accounting for 2% of our GDP. The tourism sector is critical for SMEs, generating $18.4 billion in export revenue in 2015. Of the 192,000 businesses in the tourism sector, 98% are small and medium-sized enterprises. Not only is tourism an important economic driver for SMEs, tourism marketing also supports international trade opportunities by raising awareness of the qualities that make Canada a favourable place in which to invest and do business. The Canadian brand is strong, and we will keep it that way. Finally, allow me to touch briefly on the importance of interprovincial territorial trade. As you know, our current rules prevent us from truly having one national economy. I am pleased to tell you that our government is working collaboratively with our provincial and territorial counterparts on modernizing Canada's internal trade framework to help SMEs compete and thrive. A more modern agreement will help further to open up our market and expand trade within Canada, a stabilizing force for our economy during periods of global instability. When completed, it will be instrumental in helping SMEs scale up at home in order to help grow the next generation of globally competitive Canadian companies. This will create opportunities for goods, middle-class jobs, attract innovative companies, and grow our economy. In closing, you can count on me to continue to ensure that SMEs' interests are reflected in trade agreements and programs designed to support our exporters. And I sincerely want to thank all members of this committee for recognizing the vital role SMEs play in our economy and recognizing the importance of ensuring that SMEs have the export markets they need to successfully be able to compete. So, Monsieur le Président, j'aimerais remercier les membres du comité.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to thank the members of the committee, and I am now ready to answer your questions.
And for the concise and very detailed report. And we're going to start with dialogue from the members here, and we're going to start off with Conservatives. And we have Mr. Hoback. You're up first.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all for being here this afternoon. I find it really interesting. The speech you've given sounds exactly almost identical to the speech Ed Fast had given when he was Minister of Trade, and we had a program called Going Global. In fact, as I go through your speech, I look at the LED light systems. I know them very well because I met them on a trade delegation trip to South America, and they were actually selling lights into Rio and I think also into Colombia, and the Prime Minister Harper at the time was actually the one who took him with us. And I also believe that he was also one of the presenters at one of the Going Global workshops that were held in Atlantic Canada. So I guess my first question, and I'm not sure if you can answer this, Minister, but maybe your staff can, how are you preventing the people that did the Going Global workshop, which is identical to what you're presenting here, how are you preventing the guys from doing the workshop over twice? Because basically a lot of people have already taken this, and now you've got a new name and new title to it, and they might be confused thinking that there's something new to offer here when in reality it's nothing new to offer. So I don't know if Ms. Gillis, if you could answer that, or just...
Is it okay if I give it a try first?
You can give it a try first, but sure.
Excellent. We'll always make sure, and I want you to know that this is not my staff, it's our team. At the end of the day, members of Parliament are elected to not only represent their constituents, but to ensure the success, in this case, of our small and medium-sized enterprises. We know SMEs are part of every single community, and we know that we need to do more. So for myself, as the Minister responsible for small business and tourism, it's not about who did what, it's how do we improve and how do we continue to grow and create those opportunities. The difference between, to answer your question, there's differences, and I will tell you, sorry, okay, I forgot, yes. I will make sure I'm faster. Yep. There is actually differences between the programs. We will continue to consult with the people that have been part of those workshops as well. CanExport is different because it actually it has a higher maximum contribution of almost $100,000 versus before it was only $75,000, and that's something we heard we needed to increase those opportunities. And we've also changed the parameters to be successful and to be able to be eligible. So we're talking about companies with 250 employees or less. We're talking about working in a more collaborative way with the other services available to them. So the CAN Export program actually has allowed more SMEs to see success.
Okay,
Kelly, if you want to add.
Certainly, and the LED company was involved in the accelerated growth service, which Minister Jagger spoke about in her speech, which is something new within government where we're taking 10 departments and they're working together to understand what the potential of that company is. And instead of them having to go program to program, department to department, trying to figure out what access to services they could get to realize their potential, we're coming together and
but
providing a
that's
high-touch
basically called a
service
single window, which was done
to
in the
be able
previous
to
government.
develop a plan for them to actually realize their potential much faster than they were before. So it's something that hasn't been done with the government departments actually all working together in that consolidated
I just find it interesting that you'd use LED because
I'll stop the clock. I just remind members that you got your time, but give the panelists here
Chair,
time.
I'll remind you that I'm trying to get my time and get my
I know,
questions in.
I
I
know,
only
but,
have 5 minutes. So
there's
when
other
I see an answer that's not distinct or
just,
specific,
you know, you've been around. Let's be polite and let them finish off.
always
And
will be polite and respectful.
if at the front they can be quick with their answers, then maybe we can get more questions in. So maybe both sides can, without having that interference.
Well,
so we'll continue again, Mr. Hoback.
I definitely want to look at the LED Roadway because they're a great company, a good choice, really good people. They're doing a great job around the world. They have been for a while. So for them to be telling other companies on how to do it, I'd listen to them any day of the week because they've been doing it for quite a while. So I give you credit for giving them, as you're highlighting your speech, because they are a good company. But what I also want to highlight the fact is, by reinventing or putting new names on a lot of things here, there's a lot of companies that are going to come back to this type of program and are going to sit there and spend the day with you and say, there's nothing new here. Because the single window was doing the same thing. It was just called a different program. So if you're talking about bringing in different companies and new people and bringing that to the forefront so that these new people that are thinking about exporting are first-time attendees, that's great. But what are you doing to the ones who have already attended workshops like this in the past to tell them, hey, maybe it's not for you because you've already been there? So how are you getting around that angle?
So I would say, first of all, they're not really workshops. Second of all, the whole government approach that we're taking and why it has taken us a year to actually put this into place is because departments are actually communicating and speaking with each other. So it's not just about innovation, science, and economic development, but we're working closely with Global Affairs Canada and so forth. This is not a situation of the same program, new name. We've learned that that does not work well in the past. This is really about listening to what SMEs are saying, listening to entrepreneurs and business leaders, and saying what can we change and make it more available. I'll tell you one other point. When it comes to the program of CAN Export, if there is a nuance or something that's stopping you from being successful, there is people you can speak to and be able to help be successful in applying for that program and to have the outcome, not only that they want, but this government and Canadians need them to want so that they actually can create the growth successfully. We're not here to put roadblocks in front of them. We're saying, how do we help ease and have your success? Because at the end of the day, when our small businesses succeed, Canadians and the Government of Canada succeeds, and that's what it's about.
Thank you, Minister. We're going to move over to the Liberals. So Mr. Dhaliwal, go ahead.
Chair, Minister, I would like to thank you first being here on a very short notice. And you mentioned 99% of the companies are SMEs, 90% of the businesses are SMEs, and same too in British Columbia and my riding of Surrey Newton. And you mentioned your mandate is to educate and support. My question to you is this. What is being done in terms of promotion to ensure that all small and medium-sized businesses across Canada are fully aware of the new opportunities in front of them?
That's an excellent question. And I just want to take a moment to allow all members to know that this conversation today might be the first time that I am in front of you. I am here, just like you are, to serve Canadians in the best interest of success. And our conversations can continue. And whether that's an email or a conversation, my team and I am here to work with you, because when we work together, we will achieve success. Something we've heard time and time again is that when it comes to government programs and services available to them, the people who need those programs don't know how to find out about them. And that's something I have taken on to ensure that members of Parliament are better informed so that you can inform your constituents. We also want to ensure that members of Parliament can work with enterprise centers within your communities, to work with the RDAs, and to work with whoever needs or is that service point of contact. So we know the Canada Business Network that's been around for a while is a single portal. We know it works well. We are helping to champion and advance to encourage more SMEs, more entrepreneurs to go to that website, to learn the information they need, whether it's about starting a business or growing a business or considering export markets. So we are trying to really touch more Canadians and have more of those conversations, as well as using members of Parliament on all sides of the House to help us in that initiative. When it comes to the Trade Commissioner Service, when we want our small businesses to consider export markets, the Trade Commissioner Service is something that Small Business and Tourism is working closer with Global Affairs Canada to ensure that SMEs are able to succeed when they are in those international markets. And that's why CanExport actually increased the eligible dollar amount so that they could actually make it to those markets and help discover to see if they would find success there.
And you mentioned there are only 12% of the companies that export, and so it means there are 88% of companies that have not taken advantage of this. If those businesses have not ventured into exporting before, are they still on your radar to help them, and how your department will be able to make sure that those numbers go beyond 50%?
So we are working, thank you, great question. We are working with the people who are in the system and know how government operates, and we will continue to work collaboratively with them because, once again, their success is our success. But just like any roundtable I have had, and every single time myself or the team has traveled, we ensure that there is at least half of the people at that table that have not been invited by government before, so that we can open up those opportunities for Canadians. And so when it even comes to the International Trade and Investment Strategy, which will aim to increase numbers of exporters, there's a robust communication strategy, but most importantly, we are at that table and we are part of that conversation. So before they can make a decision, our voice and the voice of our stakeholders is being represented every single step of the way. We will not be an afterthought. We will be part of the plan to help them succeed.
Minister, you mentioned your stakeholders, the people.
Stakeholders.
Our stakeholders. So what are the mechanisms that are in place if those stakeholders want to provide their feedback to the government so that any wrinkles or obstacles in the way that arise can be corrected by you and your officials?
So we know that when it comes to the Trade Commissioner Service, we know that they can do more. Just like the Prime Minister says time and time again, we can do better, and we will continue to strive to raise the bar to provide those opportunities. Trade Commissioner Service has offices across the country, so in Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, Montreal, and Halifax. There's 161 offices in total. So when we are actually communicating with them, we're making sure that SMEs are a priority, and we're providing them the feedback, constructive feedback, as to how they can better serve the people we want to see succeed, which at the end of the day is all Canadians. So when small businesses represent 90% of the private sector workforce, they're either the customers or the entrepreneur, they are the people who create the jobs and growth. So we will continue to collaborate in a two-way dialogue with clients as well as the services to ensure that they can have the response they need. And basically we are collecting feedback. This was part of the 1 year. We realize that there is gaps in communications, and that's part of why for the high growth, high impact firms, the AGS has seen so much success.
Thank you, Minister. And I'd like to welcome the member from Courtenay Alberni, Mr. Johns. Welcome to our committee. And so right now we're going to turn over to the NDP, and you're splitting your time with Ms. Ramsey.
Yes.
So go ahead, folks.
Thank you, Minister, for being here today with your team. In southwestern Ontario, where my riding is in Essex, we're on the border of the U.S., and what I'm hearing from business owners is about the high cost of doing business. Hydro costs are out of control, and businesses are looking at leaving to go to the U.S. Greenhouses are heading over the border because they can't afford the hydro costs, and they're saying that they're going to lose out from competition. So a reduction in the small business tax rate would be the best thing right now to help them with their overall costs. And so I have to ask about that broken promise, something that we all committed to on all sides during the campaign, because I think it's incredibly vital, especially in Ontario, to deal with the hydro costs. So will the 2017 federal budget include a reduction in the small business tax rate?
So I have to just take a minute because I've been working closely with Minister Freeland, and I'm sure MP Ramsey will be working closely with Minister Champagne as well. And I had said it to you earlier, but I'm going to state it on the record. But it's really nice to see that people are fighting for the people that we need to fight for. So I appreciate your constructive feedback. I appreciate you being part of the solution. When it came to consultations and communications that we've had with SMEs, and I'm talking about the people who were in the pipeline and approaching new people, what they wanted was conditions for success. They want programs and services not to be shelved and for government to say these exist. They want to be successful in their application so they can have the outcomes we need them to have. The small business tax rate does not give the return that we believe it does. It's a great soundbite, it's a great headline, but at the end of the day, when you talk about dollars and cents, it does not achieve it.
It's not what they're telling me, though. They're telling me in my riding, when I'm out there and speaking to them, it's not what they're calling and asking for. They're asking for the rate to be cut.
And I would welcome the opportunity for us to continue to communicate together, as well as to have them communicate with my office as well as our team, so that we can see that success, and we want that feedback. We work closely to ensure that we are creating those conditions for success. We know that government does not create the growth, but we can create the conditions for growth, and we can create those opportunities. And that's partly why, when it comes to the lowering, and I know this is going to seem like a point, but when it comes to lowering the middle class tax rate, it actually impacts every Canadian of the middle class, and those are our business owners, or those are our customers.
Okay, but
and
you
so
made
forth.
two promises, so I'm going to jump in here because you talked about consulting businesses. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business has over 109,000 members. They ranked at #1. Those lowering small business taxes. It was a promise made by this government. The government hasn't honored the promise. I knocked on over 300 businesses in my riding with over 70 volunteers. It was #1 in my riding too. So I think that I want you to take note of that. Another significant cost of doing business is, of course, credit card merchant fees. It's an issue that the NDP has been raising for years, and there's some clear, concrete actions the government can take to help lower these costs and make them more predictable. Of course, our colleague, Madame Lapointe, has Bill 236. I think it's been moved 10 times on this issue, and the House will hopefully eventually debate this. With CETA coming on board, we know some of our counterparts in Europe, they have rates as low as a fifth of what we have here in Canada. I'm wondering what action the government's prepared to take on credit card merchant fees.
So this is a conversation we've been having. What's refreshing about this government is that we are taking the whole of government approach. So when it comes to the Minister of Finance, the Department of Finance, we are communicating with them and engaging with them on a regular basis. When the 22 departments that directly are related, I would say, to SMEs, come together on a regular basis, and we're talking about a weekly meeting, they're able to raise these issues. When it comes to the CFIB, there is many groups that we consult with. I've met with the CFIB, I've met with chambers of commerce, I've met with these groups to ensure that their stakeholders' voices are being represented. We also continue to engage with them. And yourself and myself, you know that instead of calling you a critic, I call you an ambassador, because at the end of the day, we want the same outcomes and we want to see that success. And when it comes to CETA, the opportunities that SMEs will see in export markets with this deal are going to be, I would say, immeasurable. And we know that CETA is going to open up markets unlike any. And I'll tell you, when we know that there's only 12% of SMEs that are considering exporting right now, we need to encourage more SMEs, if they want to consider export markets.
If that's the case, we need to make sure everybody's on an even playing field. If they're getting lower merchant fees, we're not on the same playing field. I also want to make sure that you understand that when we talk about small business taxes and you talk about the middle class tax break, putting dollars into the hands of small business owners, there's no better way of community economic development. And some of the rhetoric we've heard from government.
Sorry, Mr. Johns, didn't want to cut you off.
All right. You got it.
Your time is up.
So you got the message.
Okay, we're going to move over to Madame Lapointe. Go ahead. You got the
Merci
floor.
beaucoup, Monsieur
A
le
business
Président.
person.
Merci beaucoup. Merci, Madame la Ministre, d'être avec nous.
Thank you for being here, Madam Minister, with your team. I'd like to thank my colleague for having mentioned my private member's bill. However, I will discuss exports instead because this is the International Trade Committee and we're talking about SMEs. You mentioned earlier that your goal is to help SMEs to be more productive, innovative, and export-oriented. So you have the trade commissioners, foreign buyers. What are you doing to transmit that information to SMEs so that they can take advantage of all export opportunities with the new agreements we've signed, such as CETA? I appreciate the question, Ms. Lapointe. I will speak for a short time in French and then switch to English so that I can speak a bit faster as time is limited.
When it comes to international trade, SMEs are being represented at that portfolio. You'll recognize when we are talking about our small and medium-sized enterprises, it is not just the minister or one team that is responding. Every single minister recognizes. So when the Minister of Agriculture stands up and he's talking about farmers, he knows those are small business owners. When we have the Minister of Environment stand up and talk about the importance of having a price on pollution, she knows that we're directly talking about small business owners. When we're talking about the importance of clean tech and being more innovative and export-oriented, we know who's going to create those opportunities. It's going to be small business owners. So they are at the forefront. When it comes to the negotiations, whether it's with the United States or CETA and so forth, we will always have a voice, and that's partly why the Prime Minister recognized the importance of having this Women's Entrepreneurship Council, is because we want to also encourage underrepresented groups to be able to be part of those conversations.
Merci. Donc, vous parliez tantôt des entreprises.
Thank you. So earlier you mentioned green business. There are a number of excellent businesses in my riding, such as including exporters and agri-food, Volvo buses. There is also maple syrup producers. How can I communicate with these businesses to encourage them to take advantage of the CETA agreement?
Job to communicate with them. There is programs and services that work. When we are looking at the success rate of these of the SMEs that are applying, a good number of SMEs are successful, but we want to see that number go up. So we need to ensure that when it comes to the Canada Business Network, that every entrepreneur or anybody who wants to consider business is going to the Canada Business Network and looking at those opportunities. It's a single window, just like our colleague has spoken about, where you can talk about or mention where you're from and what you're looking for, and then all of a sudden it will provide you the information. BizPal is another opportunity for businesses that want to start. So regardless of the community, province, or territory, you're able to say where you're from, and then you're able to see what regulations, licensing, and so forth that you need to ensure that you're doing it in the right way. By bringing regional development agencies under one umbrella, you're able to go to the RDAs to achieve that information. But most importantly, I would say, is the IRAP concierge service that most people do not know about, and that's unfortunate, because if we can actually consult and engage with people earlier, then they will be able to go to this concierge service to be able to help them maneuver and get to the spot they're going to. And I will actually challenge and be working closely with all members in the House to ask them to consider, as part of their householder, to share information on how SMEs can succeed and grow.
Merci. C'est très intéressant, le service concierge que vous dites. Donc, dans le fond,
the concierge service you mentioned is very interesting. So you're saying that this is information that we should spread through our business networks, chambers of commerce, SME associations. I imagine that you're going to make sure that this information is easily accessible.
And we are working with them. We know where the offices exist currently, and then we know where we also need to reach out to. Rural, remote areas are also on our radar, so we are going to make sure that that communications and that information is more available. Now that I've been invited, and it's not that, you know, it's when we make linkages like these and create these opportunities that we recognize how many more people are part of the team and can provide this information. So I will be ensuring that all members of this committee have the information so that you can continue to work with your colleagues to have that information. I am going to have a list provided when it comes to contact information, and also access directly to the office as well as to the department to provide constructive feedback so that we can continue to improve these opportunities. And we want every single business to know what they need to know so that they can succeed. And then we want the programs that we are improving at all times to actually work for Canadians and for the business owners.
Thank you, Minister. And
Thank
we're
you
gonna-
very much. Merci.
Merci
Okay,
beaucoup.
that ends our first round. We're probably going to have enough time for about five more MPs. So we're going to go to Madam Ludwig. You got the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Minister, and all of you for being here this afternoon. I initially had two questions. Now I had to, because I've got such a great answer regarding women and services, I've rewritten my question. I'm very, very honored to represent the most beautiful riding in Canada, up New Brunswick Southwest.
Second most.
And one of the areas I'm of particular interest, certainly with one of my constituents in the back corner, is actually marine tourism. And on the island of Campobello, certainly that is starting the gateway to Atlantic Canada. Can you share with us any services or supports that you have in the way to encourage, promote marine tourism, and especially on the area, if there's any work on the pre-clearance side of getting our Americans more easily through customs to Canada? Thank you.
That's an excellent question. And you do have a beautiful riding. And I would have to say that I have a beautiful riding as well, and I'm sure every member would agree that that is the case. We need to create those opportunities to be able to flow through that border better. We know what that border does. We know the relationship between Canada and the United States is a critical relationship, and that's why the Prime Minister, I believe, did a great job to represent. It was really good to see Minister Freeland also south of the border speaking to her counterpart to ensure that SMEs were being represented. So when it comes to this government and our approach, it's not that I need to go down to be the voice of SMEs. Every minister, including the Prime Minister, when they travel down to any community, any country, they are also voicing what we are talking about right here. So we will continue to work closely with the Minister of Public Safety to ensure that those opportunities exist, because we know how important pre-clearance is. And that's why this conversation, regardless of where people talk about it, for myself, it comes down to the people that we are serving and the responsibility that I take very seriously. I just want to also take a moment to talk about the trade opportunity and the fact that the United States is our #1 export market. It is our #1 source for tourists. With Canada's 150th birthday this year, with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms celebrating its 35th anniversary this year, just because it's myself, the University of Waterloo celebrating 60 years, and Conestoga College 50, we really want people to come and see what our country has to offer. Every single community that I've been to, something that we have in common is that we all have tourism operators. They are SMEs. They have the potential to grow and succeed, but we need someone to showcase and allow people to know to come here. And people individually will feel that they bring tourists to their communities, but the reality is they come to our country. And that's why the government invested in Destination Canada, $50 million over 2 years. That's why we continued with the Connecting America program to ensure that United States considers Canada as a travel destination. We know with the dollar right now, we have opportunities. We will continue to thrive and grow off those opportunities. We also know that Canadians need to be challenged to visit 10 provinces and 3 territories. And that's why the Millennial Tourism program is so important, is so that Canadians also travel.
Thank you. Thank you for that. My next question is, in our education and support of small and medium businesses seeking to take advantage of trade agreements, what particular characteristics are you or your department looking for when aiding our micro businesses? In Atlantic Canada, it's roughly over 50% of businesses have essentially less than 5 employees, but certainly there's huge opportunities here for them to be taking advantages of the trade opportunities with CETA and others.
And that's a voice that we know needs to be represented when we talk about SMEs. As much as we think we talk about all of them, there's so many of them. We're talking about the backbone of the Canadian economy, and we're looking at numbers that are quite vast, and this is something that we will continue to do more for. When it comes to the micro companies, there's a lot of talk about financing and creating opportunities, and that's why this Canada Small Business Financing Program really is important, because it helps businesses obtain the term loans of up to $350,000 to finance equipment and leasehold improvements, and up to $1 million for real property. And people don't know about that program. It's existed for quite a while. We need more people to know about it. We need to start engaging with people as they become entrepreneurs or have that solution so that we can support them in the early stages. What's unfortunate is that when you're later in life, meaning of the experience of a business, you then all of a sudden see so clearly, because hindsight is 2020, but mentorship is so important. And that's why we are using programs and services to ensure that mentorship is key, that there is people who have faced those challenges and have to overcome those obstacles that are saying the next generation of businesses will not have to do that, and we will mentor and create those partnerships. Futurepreneur is a very important program for people under the age of 39. It helps to support entrepreneurs to start a business. It provides them $15,000 and then leverages that with the Business Development Bank of Canada. Sometimes people find the BDC a little bit overwhelming, which is understandable, but it allows them to work closer together.
Thank you, Minister.
Partnerships.
And we're going to move to the Conservatives. Mr. Van Kersten, another successful business person on our committee. Go ahead, sir, you got the floor.
Well, thank you, Chair. That's very kind of you to say. Minister, welcome to our committee, and you must be a busy lady. I hope that the government gives you enough time to give you the energy and the necessary attention that in your portfolio, because this is a very important portfolio as well. As the chair said, I had the privilege of starting a number of businesses. I am a businessman. I can remember as a young man working for a car dealer and watching him for 7 years. I would just watch everything he would do, and I just planned and got that opportunity. And I think it's every year that the spring would roll around, I'd just want to go, but I just wasn't ready. And so I have a real passion, as do I think most members in this place, for businesses, but especially small businesses. You had a number of areas that you touched on. You talked about small, medium. I don't know what they call the large business, maybe just large business. Small, medium business, I believe, is 0 to 99 employees. Medium is 100 to 400. I think that's how we classify them. Maybe some, but
500 and less.
And then 500 over. We had an exercise in Chatham. We have a business development organization that analyzes and sees how we're doing with the hiring and that, and I was part of that, and was very pleased to see the work they were doing, and they offered those statistics to us. Now, I want you to understand, I want you to just kind of visualize what I'm saying here. So they presented how many businesses we had that were over 500. There were very few. I think there were 2. Then the 100 to 500, there weren't that many either. The vast majority were under 100. Now, this is kind of a trick question. I know this is. I don't know if it's going to be much difference in my riding, Chatham-Kent Essex. It's a small rural riding. We have our main city is 40,000. You know, if I were to ask you the question, what group do you think, or the amount of hirees, what would be the largest group? In other words, from 0 to 100, 10 employees, 20 employees. What do you think would be the highest? And I know this is kind of an unfair thing to offer you, but I do suggest that your department should get a handle on this and find out. Because I'm going to tell you, because it's really not fair. It was 0. 0 employees by a landslide. Now, at first I was shocked. So what I'm telling you, in Chatham-Kent Essex, all those small businesses that we're so proud of, the vast majority had 0 employees. I can tell you why. I got thinking about this. Because I remember as a businessman, you know, if government taxed us 50%, if that's all there was, you know what, you'd go out and you'd probably go out there and beat the bushes and try to make a living. You know what kills you? EI, because you're going to have to, when you hire an employee, EI premiums, CPP, workman's comp. I know that's not part of the federal licenses, energy costs. It's all those things. So that by the end of the day, after you've worked and you've tried to make a profit, and you find out that you're behind the 8 ball, more and more young people, more and more entrepreneurs are saying, this isn't worth it. So I'm going to suggest this. I'm going to suggest that, first of all, the government gives us those statistics. I really want to know nationwide. And then I think I'm going to suggest, because we're talking about working together, and I'd really like to do that. I'm going to suggest we figure out a way. We figure out a way to tackle this and get people excited about starting businesses again. Because we can do all the other fancy stuff we want, we can have all the programs, but if those things are stopping our entrepreneurs, and I believe those are precisely the things that are stopping our growth, then we're just going to be spinning our wheels. So it's in the form of a question, I suppose. I know I'm almost out of time. I'm not yet. I got 4:20.
I'd like the minister to have a quick response to your question.
So would you commit to that? First of all, letting this committee know just statistically throughout the country what those figures are and what kind of plan we can put in place so that entrepreneurs will have that vigor and that energy to go out and set out on their own.
How much time do I have, Mr. Chair?
You don't have a half a minute, if that.
It's fascinating. This is kind of like when you go to somebody's house as a dinner guest and they don't even feed you dinner. Like, you're kind of like, what did you invite me over for?
You don't have to respond.
No, I actually respectfully appreciate the comments and the insight you've shared, and it's true that when it comes to the members of this committee, you have a lot of insight to offer. That's partly why I'm here, is to say I don't need to be at the committee to have this conversation. I welcome the opportunities, but these conversations and discussions will continue. This is a challenge that all of us take seriously, and we need to advance. I can assure you, do I get the last half a minute, or he gets again? I can take my time now.
No, you can't take your time,
But I'll be fast.
time
I'll be
is
fast.
up.
So what's important is that we need our SMEs to consider export markets. We need our small and medium-sized businesses, regardless of the number of employees, and I actually do have stats for you, so I'll share them, to go global and to go export and to share their programs and solutions with the world, because the reality is that there's cities in the world that have more people in their cities than we have in our country. We are huge landmass-wise, but we are not big numbers-wise. And I have worked for small business as well in my life, and I've observed many people around myself
Minister,
that
I'm just sorry. It's just, and this was all about dialogue, and Mr. Van Kersten comes up with good ideas, but you never have enough time. Maybe we have to. Maybe you can get some interjection. We'll go move over to Liberals, Mr. Fonseca. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, I love that you're here presenting to us. I love that you're an amazing role model for small business. And the reason for that is I want to thank you for the energy that you bring and the can-do attitude that you bring to this portfolio. It is so important. I know Mr. Van Kesteren knows that's so important, because small business with the 0 employees or 1 employee or 2 employees, they wear every hat. And they need to have that energy, and more than the energy, they need to have the belief, the faith that they're going to succeed. Every single day, they've got to get up, and to know that you're in this job, supporting them and bringing that knowledge that you've brought, but also they feel that when government and when departments are with them and are on their side, then they can tackle those big obstacles. And they're huge. We talk about, like, I was just thinking about an export strategy, export pricing, risk management, getting paid, legal issues, etc., things that they may not have any expertise in, and for us to be able to support them in that way. And I want to talk about one particular company here, and it's a Canadian story. A gentleman came from Germany, international student, landed here in Ottawa, is now a Canadian citizen, was going to sell snowboards online, couldn't do it, couldn't figure out, e-commerce just wasn't there. Started a company called Shopify here in Ottawa. Headquarters is still here. That was in 2004. They started to sell their own snowboards. Now they do e-commerce for over 300,000 businesses globally. And that's the leveling of the playing field. The leveling of the playing field now is the internet and being able to support these small businesses so they could put their products and services out there and sell those. And sell those around the world. I got a chance to visit them at their Toronto office, and they showed people selling from tea to tractors to everything on this e-commerce platform. Can you tell us a little bit about what you think about kind of what's coming up? I think we're on the precipice of big things with small and medium-sized businesses, especially because of the internet and leveling that playing field.
And excellent question. And I'll tell you, my team was just meeting with Shopify yesterday. And it was interesting because they are part of the solution. And the more we engage and consult and have these conversations, the more we find out that every single person is part of the solution, just like every person that's on this committee is going to help us create those opportunities. The innovation agenda will be quite the solution for e-commerce, because we know that it is a challenge for some businesses to get online. We know that rural, remote areas, some don't have the full access, and that's why we need to ensure that there is a way of investing in connectivity. The Connect to Innovate program is an example of that. And Connect to Innovate will actually invest up to $500 million by 2021 to bring broadband internet access to 300 rural and remote communities across Canada, so that our SMEs as well as communities can grow and have those opportunities that we need them to have, because that's how you create those opportunities and that's how you create those jobs that were being referenced earlier. The BDC actually offers targeted initiatives for digital websites and using technologies, and that's another partner that we are leveraging and working closer with, so that there is a solution for e-commerce and more businesses are able to be part of that world. We need people to be online, because that's really how you can go global, and you can consider export markets, because then you don't have to be there physically, but you are connected through the web. NRC IRAP, which helps businesses find other service providers like the digital accelerators for innovation and research, and also leverages Canada's investment in CANAIR and its research and education networks to provide Canada's high-tech entrepreneurs access to free cloud. Those are programs and services that we're learning about and we know, but not the right people know. And that's why we're going to make sure that they know about those programs. We're going to communicate better. We're going to ensure that the voice of these people know. And the Office of Consumer Affairs actually offers guidance such as the Canadian Code of Practice for Consumer Protection in Electronic Commerce, e-commerce. And I can share that link with you as well. And I'll make sure all members have access to that information, so that when you are going online, instead of having to face challenges once you're there, you're actually thinking about them. We want our businesses to be proactive instead of reactive, because when you are proactive, you can actually achieve the growth and opportunities that we need you to achieve.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. Good question. And we're going to move over to the Conservatives. Mr. Rich, you got the floor. Another successful business person.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I was that successful, I wouldn't be here. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Minister and colleagues, for being here. I just have two quick points to make, and it's sort of a yes or no answer. My first role in Cabinet was small business and tourism, so I know it's a very exciting file. There's a lot going on. We have a very dynamic small business group and a very exciting tourism industry in this country. So 2 points I'd like to make. Budget 2017, we're already seeing small campgrounds being taxed. Is that going to carry on through Budget 2017, or are you actually going to let those family-run campgrounds breathe and move forward, especially in year 150 that we're celebrating? The other one is your Prime Minister is on record saying that a lot of home-based businesses are just crooks. They use that as a crutch to hide from taxation. And I just want assurances that simply because it's home-based, and we talked about, owners doing everything and trying to get a start and so on like that, I just want to make sure that they're not going to push or face an uphill climb out of Budget 2017. So are you going to lighten up on the tax levers on those two enterprises moving forward through Budget 2017, or are they going to get hit?
So a pleasure to be with you. When it comes to actually the campgrounds file, Canada Revenue Agency, Small Business and Tourism, Department of Finance, and the ministers, three ministers are working very closely together to ensure that information, yes, all together, which actually helps when you communicate with each other.
Yeah, we did that too. We called it Cabinet.
And then I will say, though, that we are making sure that the SMEs actually are able to communicate with the people they need in CRA to get the information, and we are committed to tax fairness.
Sure.
We will ensure that our SMEs have the opportunities. We know that SMEs cannot compete with big business, and that's why we are a full voice for them. For the first time in the history of the nation, and you would know this very well because you've held the portfolio, you have a full minister with a team to do the work to represent this full-time. Mm-hmm. And that's what's important. This is taking these stakeholders and these voices. We're talking about 99% of all business.
Yeah,
we're talking about 90% of the private sector workforce, taking them seriously, ensuring they have the resources to be the voice.
When it comes to your
comments, respectfully, when it comes to your comments in regards to the Prime Minister, he is a great advocate for SMEs. And he does not only say it, but we are going to talk about actions. Words are great, but actions mean just as much, and that's why this government's actions are going to allow our SMEs to have the success that they need to have. And you know where jobs are created. You know it very well.
So I'm looking forward to Budget 2017. And
Yay!
we'll have you
I'm
back.
glad that you're looking forward to it.
We'll have you back. Thank you.
Good. Okay, we're going to move over to Mr. Johns. You got 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to commend you on one thing that you said in your speech that really struck home with me, and it says that we will add a focus in the strategy on SMEs owned by underrepresented groups like women and Indigenous Canadians. That was supported today by the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in their 10 ways to build a Canada that wins. They identified that they believe that there is great untapped potential among Aboriginal entrepreneurs, many of whom face unique challenges in attracting capital for their businesses. And the Chamber is calling on Ottawa for special help for Indigenous entrepreneurs. And when I talk to Indigenous organizations, you talked about partnering, critical partner organizations, and I appreciate you identifying them. But when I talk to some of those organizations like the Aboriginal Women's Business Entrepreneur Network of Canada, they get about $400,000 a year for funding to serve the most marginalized entrepreneurs in the country. I look at Aboriginal Tourism Association of Canada. The Minister, you and I were there at the tourism meeting of all the tourism ministers across Canada. We heard their call for long-term, stable funding, new investment in that area. They've received $4 million so far, and their ask is $13 million. We've seen tourism go from, when people are looking for tourism, for cultural tourism in particular, they're looking, it's gone from 1 in 7 people seeking a cultural experience to 1 in 3. So we know every dollar spent in tourism is going to have a high return, and with Aboriginal entrepreneurs. We also heard in Maclean's magazine, it says Canada is missing out on $27.7 billion annually because of its underutilized Indigenous workforce. A lot of Indigenous people are entrepreneurs. I think this is a very important place for investment. Aboriginal Tourism BC applied for $4 million over 4 years. In 2016, they were declined. They're looking for long-term stable funding. They're a very successful organization, and they had a program where they were an incubator for over 20 businesses a year, which have created, really, they've made a landmark in BC of how you can do it. And so when we take away funding from organizations that have been great partners, it's really disappointing. So, Minister, maybe if you can break down about your commitment and where you're going to spend this money, and what's the strategy look like, and are you going to engage the All-Party Entrepreneur Caucus in those discussions?
I'll consider that an invitation to have the All-Party Caucus as part of those conversations. We welcome, and you know me enough to know that I welcome any constructive feedback, and I will definitely take it into consideration. When we are making decisions, we are making them together. You know that is my way. It's nothing new. We've worked together. You traveled with me when we met with ministers for tourism across the country. You were part of those conversations because it matters.
Agreed.
And that was not only it was an action, and there was means to it, because I wanted you to hear it. We're not putting up roadblocks. We're saying let's work together so we can achieve success.
I just want to know that there's going to be long-term, stable funding and new funding and increased funding for this commitment that you've made to Aboriginal entrepreneurs.
So we were just in Yukon, and you know what we did? We invested in that community because there was not only success there, we know there's more potential. When we're talking about Indigenous tourism, we're talking about authentic experiences to ensure that there's sustainable opportunities for those communities to create the opportunities and those jobs. When we did the Women's Entrepreneurs Conference and we worked with the BDC to have a fund devoted to women, that was not something we spoke about. That is a commitment, and there's action.
$400,000 a year is not a commitment, so we need more.
Time is up, and we're going to move over, and we got the final.
$50 million.
Looks like we got all in.
Sorry.
We're moving over to Liberals, and it looks like we're going to have time to have every member to have a say here. So we're moving over to Mr. Peterson to finish it up today.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. How much time do I have?
Good.
Not a long speech.
How long, whatever you want.
I'll be sure to make my question about 30 seconds longer than my allotted time here.
Okay.
Thanks, Minister, for being here. We do appreciate your time and enlightening us on the CAN export program, of course. And some other questions that were above and beyond the CAN export program, but we're happy to hear that information as well. I just have a question about, we're the Trade Committee, and I think we can't talk about international trade in Canada without talking about small and medium-sized enterprises and without talking about exports, because they do go hand in hand. So we've heard it alluded to a number of times by some of our witnesses when we're examining certain trade agreements, is that the agreement merely opens the door, but it's up to the businesses to go through that open door. So I see the role of perhaps your ministry and your department to encourage the businesses to make sure they have the tools to go through the doors that are being opened by these trade agreements. Do you see it similar to that?
Yes, I do. So I believe that we have the opportunity to communicate and share that information. And I just need to take 30 seconds, and I excuse myself, Mr. Peterson, but if I can, on an earlier point, when it comes to the commitment that we've made with the BDC, we're talking about a $50 million fund. There is nowhere in the history of this country that you will find a commitment like that. And we are going to see underrepresented groups, when it comes to women, succeed in business and have access to capital that they have spoken about but never seen action on. Right. And we're talking about concrete action. When it comes to export markets, yes, we not only want them to succeed, we need to help them succeed. The federal government has a role to play, and that's why when we are on the international stage, we are creating those opportunities. We're leveraging those opportunities with people who come to the country through tourism to allow them to see what kind of conditions we have in this country and to confirm to them that their country wants to do business with our country, and that allows our SMEs to succeed.
Excellent, and that's a great point. I mean, we're a trading nation without doubt. I think most of our exports, it's close to 90%, go to the U.S. There's almost a third to Europe, which I suspect and I hope that we'll see that number grow given the CETA agreement, and when we're able to capitalize on that agreement and help support our small and medium enterprises to tap into that. And that's why I think the Can Export program and the unprecedented $50 million commitment will play such a significant role in that. But and it's about informing, it's about advising, it's about communicating the programs that are available to our entrepreneurs and to our small and medium-sized enterprises. But I think it's also about making sure that the administrative burden is as little as it needs to be. Would you agree with that? And could you expand on that program?
And that's something we heard time and time again. We know that the entrepreneur is the accountant. They are the general manager. They are the marketer. They do every single job when it comes to being the entrepreneur, the small business owner. And that's why we need to make sure that when they are accessing programs and services, that it's easier for them. And that's why we're saying not only can you have access online, but you also need people to speak to. And that means if you make a phone call, somebody's getting back to you with the answer, not deferring. And that's why we need the government working better together. 12% of SMEs export. That number has to go up. And for us to actually create the conditions for growth and to grow our economy, we have to consider export markets. And that's why a government that recognizes the importance of the tourism industry, and the backbone of the tourism industry is SMEs, is so crucial, because we're talking about export dollars. Those are dollars from outside of Canada coming into the Canadian economy, actually creating the growth instead of having the same dollars shuffled from one to the other. And that's why we're taking this very seriously. We're talking about 2017 being Canada's 150th. We're talking about 2018 being Canada-China, because we know that market has huge potential, which allows our businesses to grow. So instead of having a one-year plan, the Prime Minister of this government is talking about 5, 10, 15 years down the road so that we can actually provide the support Canadians want us to create. We're not talking about the next election. We're talking about programs and services that work for Canadians, a federal government that works for Canadians, because we take this very seriously.
And I think that's the program is testament to that attitude, and I appreciate the program. I look forward to seeing it fully implemented, and keep up the good work from all you and your ministry officials. Thank you for being here. We appreciated your time.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson, and that wraps up our session, and a very good session it was, Minister, and a good dialogue back and forth, and I appreciate you coming, and maybe come back again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're going to suspend just for a minute. We're going to have the ambassador stepping up to the plate. MPs take their seats. Okay. Welcome. Welcome, High Commissioner. It's good to see you here. Thank you for coming. As you know, you may know that our committee is, over the last year, we've traveled all across Canada talking to Canadians and talking to many ambassadors and high commissioners about the TPP agreement. And we know there's some uncertainty right now about it, but we still see it's a very valued information we collected, and it could bode well for other agreements, or that they might fall into place. So, but anyway, we are wrapping up our report over the next few days, and we're very glad you're here to give us the perspective of TPP, but also the perspective of the relationships between our country and your country. And I had the pleasure to be in your country a few years ago, and it's a very beautiful country, and it's a nice place. So, without further ado, we're going to give you the floor, and then we'll have some dialogue with the members of Parliament. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honourable members of the House of Commons Standing Committee on International Trade. At the outset, I wish to congratulate Canada on the approval of the CETA and the SPA by the European Parliament today. I am sure this is an important milestone for Canada and the EU in your continuing efforts for progressive free trade. I'm honoured to be invited to make a statement to the committee on behalf of the Malaysian government regarding the TPP agreement. First and foremost, let me take this opportunity to highlight that Malaysia and Canada have long enjoyed warm and cordial relations. This year is particularly significant as we commemorate the 60th anniversary of Malaysia-Canada diplomatic relations. I wish to reiterate that we share important historical linkages through our common membership in the Commonwealth. Canada is also a dialogue partner of ASEAN, and this year we commemorate 40 years of that relationship. We also are partners in APEC, and of course, we closely interact in other multilateral platforms. Key focus areas in our bilateral ties are trade, investment, defense, and security cooperation, to name a few. In this regard, we value Canada as an important trade and investment partner. Total bilateral trade between Malaysia and Canada for the period January to November 2016 was Canadian dollars 1.52 billion. In 2015, Canada was Malaysia's 27th largest trading partner. Our investment in the Canadian market is mainly in oil and gas sector. The $36 billion potential investment by Petronas, our national oil corporation, in British Columbia is touted as the largest foreign direct investment in Canada. Certainly, this investment will be a catalyst for enhanced trade and commercial relations between our two countries. We were delighted with the approval with conditions by the Canadian government on 27 September 2016 for Petronas to proceed with the project. Petronas is presently undertaking a review on whether to proceed. As an open economy highly dependent on international trade and FDI, Malaysia embraces free trade much like Canada. Therefore, the TPP offers an excellent platform to realize the creation of a huge market as it encompasses some of the biggest economies in the Asia-Pacific region. TPP is different from other FTAs in that it is more comprehensive and encompasses a wider scope such as government procurement, environment, government-owned companies, and intellectual rights. Consultations by our MITI with various stakeholders have also revealed an increasing need by Malaysia's companies for more open markets and trade facilitation. The TPPA motion was tabled in the Malaysian Parliament in January 2016, which enabled our lawmakers to deliberate on the pros and cons of the TPP to our country. The TPPA motion was passed with majority support of 127 against 84, resulting in Malaysia signing the agreement with Canada and other TPP members last February in Auckland. Many Malaysian products are of world standard and are able to compete at the global level. Malaysian companies are also increasingly becoming international investors and require a level of transparency and predictability that can only be guaranteed effectively through binding agreements like FTAs. There is also interest from foreign companies in non-TPP countries that are increasingly exploring Malaysia as a base for their operations to enjoy the benefits of the TPPA. In addition, there are Malaysian companies that export to the US and Canada, which are increasingly interested to see the implementation of the agreement. The TPPA will allow Malaysia to continue to be an integral part of the deepening economic integration taking place within the Asia-Pacific region. It will also enable us to engage in a more concrete way with major trading partners such as Canada, the US, Mexico, and Peru, with which we currently do not have FTAs. As a member of the TPP, Malaysia will also be able to participate as an important link in the whole regional supply chain. Almost 4,000 tariffs with these markets will be abolished, including our main exports, namely electrical and electronics, chemical and petrochemical, wood-based products, food, rubber-based products, and textiles. In the long run, Malaysia believes that the TPP will bring benefits of lower cost of goods and more efficient production by taking advantage of the competition and economies of scale. The successful conclusion of the TPP will form an unprecedented market of 793 million people with a combined GDP of USD 27.5 trillion. This far surpasses the limited domestic market of 29.5 billion people and a GDP of 300 billion USD in Malaysia. With the TPP, we aim to open up new market opportunities and horizons for Malaysians to take advantage of the international marketplace. In short, the TPP will provide an opportunity for Malaysia to be a seamless market with preferential access far beyond our population. It will provide investment opportunities regionally and globally. As regards Malaysia and Canada, it will certainly enhance trade and economic relations between our two countries, as we currently do not have any bilateral FTA. TPP TPPA would also introduce a new dimension to regional trade and investment between countries. In addition to extensive trade liberalization in goods and services, TPP was further intended to promote fair competition, develop the digital economy, govern the role of state-owned enterprises in the global economy, promote freer investment movement, enhance enforcement of intellectual property, and harmonize legal and regulatory issues. At the same time, TPP is also the first FTA which has a dedicated chapter on SMEs. This provides numerous opportunities for Malaysian SMEs, especially when it comes to knowledge sharing and collaboration with SMEs from other TPP countries. This would allow deeper integration in the regional and global supply chains for SMEs. We also recognize that TPP is not just about trade. It will also help improve Malaysia's competitiveness and governance through the adoption of international standards, for example, in halal requirements, as well as best practices in areas such as labor and environment. Malaysia sees the TPP as a balanced agreement beneficial to all its members. However, we acknowledge that the future of the TPP after the US withdrawal would very much depend on further consultation and collective decision by the remaining TPPA members, including Malaysia. The entry into force of the TPPA under the present conditions cannot take place without US participation. Going ahead without the US is an option, but this would require an amendment to the clause on entry into force in the text of the signed agreement. In this regard, TPPA chief negotiators from the other 11 countries, including Malaysia, would need to be in constant communication with each other to consider all available options before deciding the best way forward. During the meeting between 12 leaders of the TPPA countries in Lima, Peru on 19 November 2016, all leaders reaffirmed their commitment towards the realization of the agreement because of the benefits it brings to the respective economies and the region, particularly in boosting trade and investment, as well as further enhancing the internationalization of small and medium-sized enterprises. Going forward, Malaysia remains hopeful that the agreement would be implemented as agreed in Auckland on 4th February 2016, as it is an important undertaking in an open economy that will deepen cooperation in the Asia-Pacific region. Should the TPPA fail to enter into force, Malaysia sees it as a missed opportunity. As expressed by our International Trade and Industry Minister at the World Economic Forum in Davos recently, should the TPPA fail to materialize, Malaysia's focus would be to enhance the economic integration of ASEAN in the context of the ASEAN Economic Community Blueprint 2025. We would also be pushing for the timely conclusion of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, as well as to pursue bilateral FTAs with TPP members whom we currently do not have any preferential trading arrangement. As regards Canada, we welcome the statement by Minister Freeland, the then Minister of International Trade, that Canada will conduct a feasibility study on an ASEAN-Canada FTA. We hope that the study will find that such an agreement would be beneficial to both Canada and ASEAN. As of now, ASEAN has existing FTAs with China, South Korea, New Zealand, India, and Japan. In the meantime, Malaysia will continue to monitor closely developments in US trade policies. With or without TPPA, Malaysia will still continue to amend various laws and regulations that have been identified to make them relevant in current times. We hope to table them in Parliament this year. The changes to these laws are not merely to comply with TPPA, but also as part of Malaysia's internal domestic review in order to strengthen and update legislation, as well as to meet with international obligations. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Your Excellency, and for that very detailed report on your country's perspective on TPP. Due to time constraint, we're going to give each party 4 minutes, and we're going to start off with Mr. Ritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Excellency, for a very comprehensive overview. You've answered a lot of my questions, but there are a few more. Certainly, I agree with you that multilateral trade agreements are by far the best. There's always a better ambition of outcome. I also take solace in the fact that you say moving forward without the U.S. is an option. I've agreed with that since we saw the electoral challenges in the United States. I'll say with both the Democrats and the Republicans saying they would tear it up, they wouldn't go there. That's unfortunate. It's a missed opportunity on their part. I think the geopolitical situation in the area, and we had the ambassador from Vietnam the other day talking about the stabilizing effect of the TPP against some of the other countries in the area, that it needs to be done. There is a meeting coming up in Chile, middle of March, for countries of the TPP to get together and talk about post-U.S. election, what are the options. You will be attending that, I'm imagine? Or someone will be?
Yes, thank you. I understand that we do have someone from the negotiating team from the Ministry of International Trade who will be there, plus our ambassador to Chile, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand other countries. China is talking about being there. Other countries like South Korea and Colombia, and others that aren't in it that are looking at it. So I welcome that opportunity, and I hope everybody takes it seriously that we need to move forward. As you rightly point out, it's a huge opportunity missed if we don't. You also made some comments about the ASEAN group of countries, and we do trade with them as well, but not through a free trade agreement. I think it's very important that we move to that. Ratify the TPP with or without the U.S., and then move to a Canada as a component of an ASEAN group agreement as well. That's probably the fastest way we'd get involved with India. We've had several tables with India, but it's never really gone anywhere. So moving into agreements that are already set is always better. So I was wondering if you are aware, I know that Minister Freeland has made comments about ASEAN. Do you know of anything that's starting to happen in that regard, like a complementarity study and those types of things?
In a recent meeting with the Foreign Ministry or Global Affairs, I was given an indication. I actually posed that same question, and I understand that it's going to begin soon.
Good.
And I was assured that it would be with not just policymakers, initially with policymakers, of course, but subsequently with industry players as well.
Good. Excellent. That's good news. And the 60th anniversary, you're absolutely right. There's a number of different things that have joined us together over the years. I haven't had the opportunity to be on the ground in Malaysia, but I've met with your ministers over the past decade at a number of like APEC conferences and G20s and different things like that we've attended. There's a lot of similarities. Tourism, Canada to Malaysia, is growing exponentially. You have a lot nicer weather than we do in January. It's always nice to make those inroads. So thank you for your presentation today. I'm certain I'm out of time. But
you're all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ritz, and we're going to move over to Mr. Dhaliwal. Go ahead, 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome, Your Excellency and the First Secretary. I had the opportunity to visit your country, a wonderful, beautiful place to visit. You mentioned British Columbia. You have the biggest investment in British Columbia, and I would like to know if you faced any difficulties or things could have done differently to move that faster or in a cordial way.
I'm not actually an expert on this subject, but I did meet up with our team, the Petronas team that's based in British Columbia. And I think they knew when they came into Canada, into British Columbia, they were in for the long run. And I think they have invested quite a substantial sum of money in the last 3 years to get the project off the ground. They have, I can confirm, they have had a lot of engagement with the First Nation communities, which had some objections initially, but I think most of it has been overcome. And for the moment, though, it has to be, because there was something like, I believe, 180 conditions placed on them, that they have had to take a business decision, I think, to step back and to review. So that's where it's at right now.
You mentioned about TPP, even if we do not go with the U.S. with the recent developments. I was in Japan recently. Every meeting, every political party was concerned about TPP. They want, even though there was a 50% opposition to the free trade TPP agreement, they still wanted to go through because they had the similar view as you do, that it will be a positive for Japan. And you said you are looking for an alternate solution. Is your government already thinking about doing something, pursuing something in the coming months, coming days, and coming year?
I think if you're talking about the TPP proper, then certainly we are on board. We are going in for all the negotiations and all the talks, as I mentioned, and we will be participating.
But TPP doesn't go through, then are you thinking of bilateral agreement with Canada?
Bilateral agreement with Canada?
Yes.
I think that's for the time being. I can say that it's not in consideration yet, because I think we are still hoping that there would be some outcome from these talks. And again, as I mentioned as well, we are also giving a lot of attention to the RCEP, because in terms of membership, in terms of population, it will be for a larger group of people, with India and China coming on board in RCEP. And these, as I said, are with countries that already have existing FTAs with us.
And you mentioned about child labor and environment. And is there quite a problem when it comes to child labor in Malaysia and environmental issues? How do you see that if we would have proceeded with the TPP, you would be able to overcome those issues?
Child labor, I don't think it's been a big issue. It's never really sort of, brought up internationally. It's never been sort of associated with Malaysia. In fact, I think most of us around the table would know that Malaysia is a major importer of foreign labor. So we have a lot of industries that need, foreign manpower, and it's normally in the plantation sector, in the household sector, in the services sector. So we've not really had a problem with child labor.
Okay, thank you. And we're going to move over to the NDP. Ms. Ramsey, 4 minutes.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and First Secretary. It was a very thorough presentation. It answered a lot of my questions as well, as you heard from Mr. Ritz. So the question that I have, you mentioned the RCEP and the agreement that you're seeking there. My question really is, how would it affect trade relations between Canada and Malaysia if you enter into the RCEP, but the TPP does not happen?
I think for Malaysia, how we look at it is, because we are really focused on TPP at the moment, but at the same time, that does not exclude us from having other regional FTAs, other bilateral FTAs, and we have been continuously doing that. As a country that strongly believes in free trade access for other countries, I don't think it would affect us anyway. Just like you are having CETA, and at the same time, you would be with us in TPP or maybe even an ASEAN FTA, ASEAN-Canada FTA.
I also wondered, we've had an interesting day here at the Trade Committee. We had our small business and tourism minister here earlier, as I'm sure you saw, and I noted that you spoke about SMEs and exporting to Canada. So I wondered what percentage of Malaysian SMEs are exporting to Canada, and perhaps you could share with us some of the initiatives that you have to encourage that.
Well, most recently, I don't have the figures on the numbers as of now, on the number of SMEs participating or exporting to Canada. But certainly on my part, I've been outreaching with various organizations here in Canada, most lately with the TFO. And we had very good conversation because they were informing me that they can avail their websites and they themselves for our SMEs to come. So I'm working on establishing contacts between them, and we have our SME corporation which oversees all SMEs in Malaysia. So this is one avenue that I see going forward for Canada and Malaysia. Thank you.
And thank you for coming today. What a very formative dialogue with the MPs, and very good information, and we'll put this in our report, and we appreciate it. And 60 years is a long relationship, and we're looking to many more years to come. And thank you for the gifts. Beautiful. So we're going to suspend now. If High Commissioner, if you can have a little picture with us, we'd appreciate it, just over by the door. And we're just going to suspend a few minutes, and we got a little bit of unfinished business.
you.